strength isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you build, one choice at a time, especially when life tests you the most. You don't become mentally strong by avoiding challenges, but by stepping into them with the quiet conviction that you'll find a way through. Every hardship, every doubt, every failure is an invitation to grow into someone who doesn't just survive, but thrives. And here's the truth. Your mind is your greatest weapon, but only if you train it. Most people wait for the right moment to start, but mental strength isn't built in comfort. It's forged in discomfort, in uncertainty, in the moments when you want to quit, but take one more step forward instead. This isn't about pretending life is easy. It's about learning how to stay grounded when everything feels like it's falling apart. If you've ever wondered why some people seem unshakable while others crumble, it's not because they were born that way. It's because they decided, over and over, to strengthen the way they think, the way they respond, and the way they live. This is your chance to make that same decision, to stop letting circumstances decide who you are, and to start becoming the kind of person who can walk through any storm with clarity, courage, and purpose. Because the storms will come, but if you train your mind, they won't control you. They'll shape you. They'll reveal the kind of strength that no one can take away from you. The foundation of mental strength. Mental strength doesn't appear overnight, and it's not some mysterious gift that a select few are born with. It's a skill, one that you can develop through intentional habits, repeated actions, and the willingness to face discomfort instead of running from it. At its core, mental strength is about stability. It's the ability to stay grounded when life throws you into chaos, to think clearly when emotions are trying to pull you into rash decisions, and to keep moving forward even when the path ahead is uncertain. Imagine your mind as a fortress. If the foundation is weak, the walls will crumble under the first storm. But if the foundation is solid, no matter how fierce the winds get, you'll remain standing. That's why building mental strength starts with the inner work most people avoid. Becoming aware of your thoughts, recognizing your patterns, and challenging the beliefs that keep you stuck. This means making peace with the fact that life will not go according to plan. You will face setbacks, disappointments, and moments when you doubt yourself completely. The mentally strong don't escape these realities. They embrace them. They understand that adversity is not the enemy, but the training ground. Every obstacle is a weight you lift, and like physical strength, the more you lift, the stronger you become. But here's the catch. Just as you don't get fit by going to the gym once, you don't build mental resilience by handling one tough day. It's a daily practice. It's choosing every morning to control your attitude, your focus, and your actions, because those are the only things truly within your power. And this is where discipline and awareness intersect. You train your mind not to be swayed by every mood, not to collapse under pressure, and not to lose sight of your values when temptations or challenges appear. This is about creating habits that reinforce your strength, starting your day with clarity, limiting distractions that drain your mental energy, and surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to grow. It's also about knowing when to rest, because strength isn't just about pushing forward. It's about knowing when to recover so you can keep going. The foundation of mental strength is built in the moments when no one is watching. It's in the small decisions, choosing to have the hard conversation instead of avoiding it, keeping a promise you made to yourself even when it's inconvenient, saying no to things that don't align with your priorities. Over time, these choices form a mental framework that can withstand stress, criticism, and uncertainty. The goal isn't to eliminate struggle, it's to become the kind of person who can handle struggle without losing themselves in the process. If you commit to this, you'll find that the storms of life no longer feel like threats. They'll feel like tests you're prepared to pass. And with every test you endure, your foundation becomes stronger, your confidence deeper, and your ability to face the world unshaken grows. Understanding self-discipline. Self-discipline is the bridge between wanting a better life and actually building it. It's the quiet, often uncelebrated force that keeps you moving forward when motivation has already left the room. People often think discipline means living without joy, as if it's about constant sacrifice and rigid control. But true discipline isn't about punishing yourself. It's about creating freedom. It's the ability to set a course for yourself and stick to it, even when every distraction, temptation, and excuse tries to pull you away. It's what separates those who talk about change from those who actually make it happen. Motivation might get you started, but discipline is what carries you through the days when you feel tired, uninspired, or completely overwhelmed. To understand discipline, you have to first understand your why. Without a compelling reason, discipline becomes a chore. When you know why you're working towards something, when it matters deeply to you, it's far easier to make the tough choices. Waking up early to exercise, saying no to an unhealthy habit, working on a goal after a long day, all of that becomes more bearable when you can connect it to something meaningful. Your why is the anchor that keeps you steady in rough waters. Without it, you drift aimlessly, chasing whatever feels good in the moment, but never building anything lasting. Discipline also thrives on structure. It's not enough to have willpower. You have to design your environment so it supports your goals. That means removing unnecessary temptations, organizing your time intentionally, and setting up small, achievable steps that lead to bigger wins. When you rely solely on raw willpower, you set yourself up for burnout. But when you have systems in place, habits, routines, and clear boundaries, you make discipline automatic. You don't have to wrestle with the decision each day because the decision has already been made in advance. And here's the part most people overlook. Discipline is not about perfection. You will slip. You will have days when you don't follow through. The difference between those who stay disciplined and those who give up is how they respond to those moments. The disciplined person doesn't waste energy on guilt. They simply get back on track. They understand that one missed step doesn't ruin the journey. Quitting does. The truth is, discipline is an act of self-respect. Every time you follow through on something you promised yourself, you reinforce the belief that you can trust yourself. And the more you trust yourself, the more ambitious your goals become, because you know you have the strength to see them through. It's a cycle that feeds itself. Discipline builds trust. Trust fuels bigger action, and bigger action leads to greater results. When you master this, you stop relying on fleeting bursts of inspiration and start building a life that is consistent, stable, and moving in the direction you've chosen. That's the real power of self-discipline, not just to get you through the hard days, but to transform you into someone who refuses to give up on what matters most. Embracing fear and anxiety. Fear and anxiety are two emotions most people spend their lives trying to avoid, yet they are also two of the most powerful indicators that you're standing at the edge of growth. We're conditioned to see them as enemies, signs that something is wrong, that we should retreat to safety. But if you look closer, you'll see that fear often points directly to the places where you can expand. and anxiety is the body's way of telling you that you're stepping into something uncertain, something unfamiliar, something that matters. The problem isn't feeling fear, it's letting fear decide the direction of your life. People who are mentally strong know that fear is not a signal to stop. It's a signal to prepare, to focus, and to move forward with awareness. Think about every meaningful achievement in your life so far. Chances are, fear and anxiety were standing right beside you when you took those steps. Your first important job interview, a difficult conversation you didn't want to have, a leap into a new opportunity that you weren't entirely sure you could handle. The trembling hands, the racing heart, the voice in your head whispering, "What if this goes wrong?" These are not signs of weakness. They are signs of significance. The challenge is to stop interpreting them as warnings to run away and start seeing them as proof that you're in the exact place you need to be. Reframing fear means asking different questions. Instead of, "What if I fail?" ask, "What might I gain if I try?" Instead of, "What if this is too hard?" ask, "What kind of strength will I build by facing this?" Anxiety, too, can be transformed when you shift your relationship with it. It's not about eliminating every trace of nervousness, but about using that heightened energy to sharpen your focus and push yourself to act with intention. This is where practices like mindfulness and controlled breathing become powerful tools. They help you stay grounded enough to act despite the emotions rushing through you. Another truth that mentally strong people understand is that comfort is often the enemy of growth. If you spend your life trying to stay comfortable, you'll miss the experiences that shape resilience, courage, and confidence. Fear is the price you pay for stepping outside the familiar, and while it feels uncomfortable in the moment, it is always cheaper than the cost of regret. The more you face fear intentionally, the more you realize that it rarely has the power you thought it did. What once felt impossible becomes normal, and what once terrified you becomes just another part of life. By embracing fear and anxiety, you train your mind to see them not as obstacles, but as guides. They point you toward the work that matters, the challenges that will expand your capacity, and the risks that have the potential to transform your life. You stop being controlled by what if and start living in even if. Even if it's hard, even if I'm scared, even if I fail, I will still try. That mindset is where true mental strength lives, because it means you're no longer at the mercy of your fears. Instead, you're using them as fuel. And once you learn to do that, there's very little in life that can hold you back. Building positive habits. The truth about success, whether in your career, your health, or your relationships, is that it's rarely the result of one massive effort. More often, it's the result of small, repeated actions that compound over time. Positive habits are the engine that drives lasting change, and they're also the quiet proof of your commitment to yourself. But here's the challenge. Building them is not about doing something once. It's about making it a part of who you are. Habits are powerful because they remove the need for constant decision-making. Once something becomes automatic, you no longer have to fight yourself to get it done. It just happens, like brushing your teeth or locking your door at night. And that's when real progress begins. Many people fail at creating positive habits because they try to overhaul their entire life overnight. They go from doing nothing to setting goals that demand an unrealistic level of willpower. But mental strength is built by starting small and staying consistent. If you want to develop a habit of reading, start with 10 minutes a day instead of forcing yourself into an hour. If you want to exercise regularly, commit to short, achievable workouts until the routine becomes second nature. These small wins create momentum, and momentum makes it easier to keep going, even on the days when your motivation is at zero. One of the most effective ways to build habits is to anchor them to something you already do. This is called habit stacking, linking a new action to an existing one so it fits naturally into your day. For example, if you want to start meditating, you could decide to do it immediately after brushing your teeth in the morning. By attaching the new habit to an established routine, you reduce the friction of starting and make the habit more likely to stick. Your environment also plays a huge role. If your surroundings constantly tempt you to break your habits, you'll struggle. But if you set up your space so that it supports your goals, like keeping healthy snacks visible and hiding the unhealthy ones, you make it easier to follow through. Tracking your progress is another key part of the process. There's something deeply motivating about seeing your streaks, your repetitions, your effort laid out in front of you. It transforms the habit from an abstract idea into something tangible. And when you inevitably hit a day where you miss your habit, don't see it as a failure. See it as part of the process. Missing once doesn't erase all your work. Giving up does. The real magic of positive habits is that they don't just change what you do, they change how you see yourself. Each time you keep a habit, you send a message to yourself. I am the kind of person who follows through. Over time, that identity shift makes it easier to maintain your habits because they're no longer just tasks on a list, they're part of who you are. When you build your life around small, consistent actions that align with your values, you create a structure that makes mental strength sustainable. And as those habits compound, you'll realize that the person you've become is the result of hundreds of tiny choices you made when no one else was paying attention. That's the real power of habits. They turn effort into identity, and identity into lasting success. The power of mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't about sitting in silence for hours or emptying your mind of all thoughts. It's about learning to live fully in the present moment without letting the noise of the past or the uncertainty of the future pull you away. In a world that constantly demands your attention, mindfulness is the skill that allows you to slow down enough to actually notice what's happening, both around you and within you. It's the act of paying attention on purpose, whether you're drinking your morning coffee, walking to work, or having a conversation with someone you care about. When you practice mindfulness, you're not rushing ahead to the next thing or replaying what happened yesterday. You're here, now, and that simple shift has the power to change everything. The reason mindfulness is such a critical part of mental strength is that it gives you control over your attention, which means it also gives you control over your reactions. When you're present, you can observe your thoughts and emotions without being controlled by them. That pause, the space between stimulus and response, is where your strength lives. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond with clarity. Instead of being pulled into every negative thought, you can watch it pass and decide whether it deserves your energy. Over time, this ability to remain aware without being consumed by every passing feeling becomes one of the greatest tools for resilience. One of the most practical ways to bring mindfulness into your life is to anchor it to everyday moments. You can practice mindful breathing while waiting in line. Take a few seconds to really taste your food before swallowing, or pause before responding in a conversation to fully hear what the other person is saying. These small moments of awareness train your mind to stay focused and calm, even in situations that would normally trigger stress or frustration. And when life inevitably throws challenges at you, your practice pays off. You're less likely to be swept away by panic or anger because you've built the habit of pausing, observing, and choosing your next step intentionally. Science backs this up. Research shows that regular mindfulness practice reduces stress, improves focus, and even strengthens the immune system. It literally changes the brain, increasing activity in the areas responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation. But beyond the science, there's a quiet power in simply being present. It deepens relationships because you're truly listening. It makes experiences richer because you're actually there for them instead of lost in thought. And it allows you to face difficulties with a sense of steadiness because you're not tangled up in what-if scenarios. You're dealing with what is. Mindfulness is not about detaching from life. It's about engaging with it more deeply. It's a daily practice of showing up for yourself and for the moment you're in, without judgment and without rushing past it. The more you cultivate it, the more you realize that the present moment, this breath, this choice, this step, is where all your power truly lies. And when you live from that place, distractions lose their hold on you, stress becomes more manageable, and mental strength stops being an abstract concept and starts being the way you move through the world every single day. The role of gratitude. Gratitude is often misunderstood as something you practice only when life is going well, as if it's simply a pleasant emotion that comes when everything is in order. But real gratitude, the kind that strengthens your mind and shapes your resilience, isn't about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about choosing to focus on what's good, even when life feels far from ideal. It's about training your attention to see what's present instead of obsessing over what's missing. This shift in perspective doesn't mean you ignore challenges. It means you refuse to let them blind you to the things that still make life worth living. When you practice gratitude consistently, you begin to notice how it changes your mental state. It quiets the endless comparisons that fuel dissatisfaction. It softens the pull of negative thoughts that try to convince you that you'll only be happy when you have more, do more, or become more. Gratitude pulls you back into the reality that right now you have things worth appreciating: health, relationships, opportunities, lessons learned, even the strength to face today's struggles. That awareness builds emotional resilience because it creates balance. Instead of being consumed by what's hard, you're reminded that good still exists alongside the difficult. The power of gratitude goes deeper than just feeling good. It actively rewires your brain. Studies in neuroscience show that regular gratitude practice increases activity in areas of the brain linked to empathy, self-awareness, and emotional regulation. Over time, this helps you respond to stress with more calm and less reactivity. It's not magic. It's the result of training your mind to notice and value the positive, so it becomes your default perspective instead of something you have to fight for. There are simple but powerful ways to integrate gratitude into your daily life. Start or end your day by writing down 3 things you're thankful for, no matter how small they seem. Take a moment in the middle of a stressful day to acknowledge one thing that's still going right. Express appreciation to someone who's made a difference in your life, whether it's through a message, a phone call, or a quiet moment of acknowledgement in your own mind. The more you actively recognize these moments, the more naturally they'll come to you. But gratitude also requires humility. You have to be willing to admit that you're not self-made in every sense, that others have contributed to your journey, that life has given you gifts you didn't fully earn. That humility is grounding, and it protects you from entitlement, which is the enemy of mental strength. A person who feels entitled becomes bitter when life doesn't go their way. A person who is grateful adapts because they see that even in loss, there's something to value, whether it's a lesson, a relationship, or the discovery of their own resilience. In the end, gratitude is not just a reaction to the good, it's a deliberate choice that amplifies it. It shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance, from frustration to appreciation, from what's missing to what's already here. And when you live in that mindset, life stops feeling like a constant chase for the next thing and starts feeling like a collection of moments you actually get to experience fully. Gratitude doesn't just make life feel better, it makes you stronger because it teaches you to find stability in the middle of uncertainty and joy in the middle of challenge. Managing negative thoughts. Negative thoughts are not the enemy, they're part of being human. The real problem is when you give them the steering wheel of your mind and let them decide where your life is headed. Left unchecked, these thoughts can turn small challenges into overwhelming problems, can convince you that you're powerless when you're not, and can drain your energy before you even take the first step toward what matters. Managing them doesn't mean pretending they don't exist or forcing yourself to think positive all the time. It means learning how to recognize them, question them, and choose a healthier response before they control your actions. The first step is awareness. You can't change a thought you don't notice. That's why mindfulness plays such a big role here. It teaches you to step back and watch your thoughts instead of being swallowed by them. When you notice a negative thought, treat it like a visitor knocking on your door. You get to decide whether to let it in, and if you do, how long it stays. Just because a thought shows up in your mind doesn't make it true. The mind is full of automatic patterns, many of them shaped by past experiences, fears, or even someone else's opinions. By pausing to ask, is this thought accurate? Is it helpful? Is it leading me toward the person I want to be? You begin to take back control. Another powerful strategy is reframing. This doesn't mean sugarcoating reality. It means shifting perspective to see the bigger picture. If you fail at something, instead of thinking, "I'm terrible at this," you can reframe it as, "This is a chance to learn what I need to improve." If someone criticizes you, instead of thinking, "They hate me," you might reframe it as, "They're giving me insight into how I'm perceived." Reframing is a mental habit that transforms setbacks into opportunities, and over time, it makes your thinking more resilient and solution-oriented. Your environment also matters more than you might realize. If you spend your time with people who constantly complain, criticize, or feed negativity, it becomes much harder to manage your own thoughts. The mind mirrors what it's exposed to. That's why surrounding yourself with positive influences, people, books, podcasts, environments, can be a game changer. These inputs act like mental nutrition. The healthier they are, the stronger your mind becomes. One underrated tool in managing negative thoughts is writing them down. Putting thoughts on paper creates distance, allowing you to see them more objectively. Often what feels massive and overwhelming in your head looks smaller and more manageable when you read it in front of you. From there, you can challenge it, reframe it, or create an action plan to address it. This habit also prevents thoughts from cycling endlessly in your mind, freeing up mental space for more productive thinking. Ultimately, the goal is not to eliminate negative thoughts. You can't. The goal is to keep them in their proper place. They can be signals, warnings, or reminders, but they are not your identity. The more you practice noticing them without judgment, questioning them without fear, and replacing them with thoughts that serve your growth, the less control they have over you. And with time, you'll find that the voice in your head that once held you back becomes quieter, while the voice that pushes you forward becomes stronger. That is the power of managing your thoughts. You stop being your own worst enemy and start becoming your own greatest ally. Setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are doors that you control, deciding who and what gets access to your time, energy, and peace of mind. Without them, you become a target for burnout, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. With them, you create the space necessary to protect your well-being and to show up in your life with clarity and strength. Setting healthy boundaries isn't selfish. It's a form of self-respect. It says, I value my life enough to decide how it will be lived. And for anyone committed to building mental strength, boundaries are not optional, they are essential. The first step in setting boundaries is understanding your limits. Many people struggle with this because they've been conditioned to believe that saying yes is always the right thing to do, even at the expense of their own needs. But every yes you give comes at the cost of something else. If you agree to work late every night, you say no to rest, to family, to health. If you allow someone to repeatedly speak to you in a way that disrespects you, you silently say no to your own dignity. Recognizing where you feel drained, uncomfortable, or taken advantage of is your starting point for deciding where those lines need to be drawn. Once you know your limits, the next challenge is communicating them clearly and consistently. This is where many people stumble, not because they don't know what they need, but because they fear how others will react. They worry about being seen as difficult, cold, or unkind. But the truth is, people who respect you will respect your boundaries, and those who don't are showing you exactly why those boundaries were necessary in the first place. Communicating boundaries doesn't require aggression. You can be firm without being hostile. You can say, I can't take on extra work right now, or I'm not comfortable discussing that, in a calm, steady tone that leaves no room for misunderstanding. Of course, setting a boundary is only half the battle. The real test is enforcing it. Some people will push against your boundaries to see if they can get you to bend. This is where mental strength truly comes into play. You must be willing to follow through on consequences when someone repeatedly disregards your limits. If you set a boundary but never uphold it, it sends the message that it's negotiable. Boundaries require consistency, and that consistency requires courage. One thing many people don't realize is that boundaries benefit not just you, but your relationships. They create clarity, prevent resentment, and make interactions more genuine. Without boundaries, you risk giving so much of yourself away that you start to feel invisible. With them, you can engage with others from a place of choice rather than obligation. You can give freely because you've decided to, not because you feel pressured to. Healthy boundaries also protect your focus. They allow you to prioritize the work, relationships, and personal growth that matter most to you. In a world full of distractions and demands, that kind of focus is a superpower. It ensures that your life is shaped by your own values, not by the constant pull of other people's expectations. In the end, boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about protecting the space you need to live with integrity. They are the framework that allows you to grow without being depleted, to help others without losing yourself, and to live a life that is truly yours. When you set them with clarity and uphold them with strength, you send a clear message to the world. My time, my energy, and my peace are valuable, and I will treat them that way. The importance of self-care. Self-care is not an indulgence, It's not a luxury you allow yourself only after you've worked hard enough or reached some invisible milestone. It's a necessity, a fundamental part of sustaining your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Without it, everything else in your life eventually suffers. You can only give so much of yourself before your energy, patience, and focus run dry. And when that happens, you're not just less effective for others, you're less present for yourself. The mistake many people make is thinking that self-care is selfish, when in reality, it's the foundation that allows you to keep showing up in the world as your best, most capable self. Self-care starts with listening to your body and mind. Too often, we ignore the warning signs of burnout, fatigue, irritability, loss of motivation, until they become impossible to overlook. Mentally strong people pay attention earlier. They know that rest is not weakness, it's strategy. Taking time to recover doesn't mean you're slacking off. It means you're preparing yourself to continue with focus and clarity. In the same way that athletes train intensely, but also schedule recovery days, you need moments that allow you to reset mentally and physically, so you can sustain the pace of your life without breaking down. The truth is, self-care is deeply personal. For some, it's an early morning workout that sets the tone for the day. For others, it's a quiet hour with a book, a walk in nature, or a conversation with someone who truly listens. It's about identifying the activities that recharge you and making them a non-negotiable part of your routine. That's the key: consistency. A single act of self-care is like one glass of water on a hot day. It helps, but it won't keep you hydrated in the long run. Real change comes when caring for yourself becomes a habit, not an afterthought. It's also important to recognize that self-care isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it means making hard choices, saying no to extra commitments, ending relationships that drain you, or stepping away from environments that undermine your well-being. It means being honest about what's truly good for you, even if it disappoints others. Mental strength comes from understanding that you can't please everyone without destroying yourself in the process. There's also a deeper truth here. When you take care of yourself, you raise the standard for how others treat you. You show people through your actions that your health, your peace, and your time matter. And in turn, you're better able to be present for the people and projects that matter most. It's the opposite of selfishness. It's a recognition that you can't pour from an empty cup. When your needs are met, your capacity to give, support, and create grows exponentially. In the end, self-care is about respect. Respect for your body, your mind, and your life. It's choosing to nurture yourself, not just when things are easy, but especially when life is demanding. It's a long-term investment in your ability to thrive, not just survive. And the more you treat self-care as an essential part of your routine, the more you'll discover that it's not simply about feeling better. It's about becoming stronger, more resilient, and more capable of handling whatever life throws at you. Cultivating emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is one of the most underestimated forms of strength. It's the ability to understand your own emotions, manage them effectively, and respond to the emotions of others with awareness and empathy. While physical strength and mental sharpness are valuable, emotional intelligence is what allows you to navigate life's complexities without being derailed by every conflict, misunderstanding, or unexpected turn. It's not just about being nice or agreeable, it's about being intentional with how you respond to both yourself and the world around you. Without it, even the most talented or knowledgeable person can sabotage their own success. With it, you gain the clarity and composure to handle situations that overwhelm most people. It starts with self-awareness. You can't manage what you don't understand, and that includes your emotional triggers. When something frustrates you, do you lash out? When you're anxious, do you shut down? Self-awareness means taking the time to recognize these patterns and understanding the why behind them. Instead of being at the mercy of your feelings, you become an observer, capable of choosing your responses rather than being pulled into automatic reactions. This is where mental strength and emotional intelligence overlap. The stronger your self-awareness, the less likely you are to let temporary emotions create permanent damage. The next layer is self-regulation, the ability to stay composed even when emotions run high. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings or pretend they don't exist. It means you acknowledge them, but you don't let them dictate your actions. If anger rises, you pause before speaking. If fear takes hold, you breathe and assess before deciding. Self-regulation is like having an internal brake system that prevents you from driving straight into regret. It's a skill that requires practice, especially in moments of tension, but over time it becomes one of your greatest assets. Then comes empathy, the ability to understand and connect with the emotions of others. Empathy doesn't mean agreeing with everyone or letting emotions override logic. It means seeing things from another person's perspective and recognizing the feelings driving their behavior. This ability strengthens relationships, builds trust, and allows for more effective communication. When people feel understood, they're more open to listening, collaborating, and finding solutions. Social skills are another critical part of emotional intelligence. These include active listening, conflict resolution, and clear communication. They are the tools that turn emotional awareness into practical action. A person with high emotional intelligence can diffuse tension, navigate disagreements, and inspire cooperation, even in challenging circumstances. Finally, emotional intelligence involves self-motivation, the capacity to keep moving toward your goals regardless of setbacks, driven by a sense of purpose rather than just external rewards. People with strong emotional intelligence know how to channel their emotions into action, turning frustration into determination and disappointment into renewed effort. The beauty of emotional intelligence is that it's not fixed. You can develop it with intention and practice. Start by paying closer attention to your emotional patterns, both in calm moments and in times of stress. Reflect before reacting. Ask questions before judging. And always remember that strength isn't just measured by how much you can endure. It's also measured by how wisely you can navigate the emotions that come with endurance. When you cultivate emotional intelligence, you're not just improving your mental strength, you're giving yourself the tools to connect deeply, communicate effectively, and live with balance in an unpredictable world. Building a support system. No one becomes mentally strong in isolation. Strength may be forged within you, but it's sustained and reinforced by the people you choose to keep close. A strong support system doesn't mean surrounding yourself with people who only tell you what you want to hear. It means building a network of relationships that challenge you, encourage you, and hold you accountable to the best version of yourself. These are the people who remind you of your capabilities when you forget, who offer perspective when you're stuck in your own head, and who give you the kind of feedback that pushes you to grow, even when it's uncomfortable. The first step in building a support system is being intentional about who you allow into your inner circle. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. Mentally strong people understand that relationships either feed your growth or drain it. There is rarely a neutral in between. This means seeking out individuals who align with your values, respect your boundaries, and demonstrate consistency in their words and actions. It also means distancing yourself from those who constantly criticize without offering solutions, take without giving, or pull you away from your goals instead of toward them. A strong support system is built on mutual investment. It's not just about having people to lean on, it's about showing up for them as well. This reciprocity creates trust, and trust is the backbone of any relationship that can weather life's inevitable storms. When challenges arise, you don't just have people who will listen, you have people who will actively help you find solutions and take action. But here's the reality. Support systems don't happen by accident. They require cultivation. This means making time to connect regularly, being honest about your struggles, and allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness, but in truth, it's what deepens relationships. When you open up about your challenges, you give others permission to do the same, creating an environment where honesty thrives and where real help can be offered without judgment. Your support system should also be diverse in perspective and experience. Having people from different backgrounds, professions, and life stages allows you to see problems and solutions from multiple angles. Sometimes, the most valuable insight comes from someone who isn't in the same situation as you, because they can view it without the emotional weight you carry. And perhaps most importantly, a support system should inspire you. Being around people who are disciplined, resilient, and purpose-driven will naturally influence you to hold yourself to a higher standard. This is why it's said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Your environment shapes your mindset, whether you realize it or not. Building a support system is not about creating dependency. It's about reinforcing your ability to stand strong while knowing you have others to lean on when the weight gets too heavy. Life will test you in ways you can't always prepare for, but with the right people in your corner, you don't just endure, you rise. And in return, you become part of someone else's strength, creating a cycle of resilience that benefits everyone involved. Overcoming setbacks. Setbacks are not proof that you're failing, they're proof that you're trying. Anyone who's ever achieved something worthwhile has been knocked down, sometimes more than once. The difference between those who stay down and those who rise is not luck, talent, or even intelligence. It's resilience. Resilience is the decision, again and again, to get back up, adjust your approach, and keep moving forward even when the road ahead feels endless. Mentally strong people know that setbacks are not the end of the story. They are simply chapters in the process of becoming who you're meant to be. The first step in overcoming a setback is to separate your identity from the event. Too often, we internalize failure as a reflection of our worth. I failed, so I must be a failure. But the truth is, a setback is just feedback. It's information about what didn't work, not a verdict on who you are. This perspective shift is crucial because it keeps you in problem-solving mode instead of self-destructive mode. When you can see the setback as a teacher rather than a judge, you reclaim your power to act. Next comes the willingness to evaluate without ego. This is where mental strength really matters, because it's not easy to look at your mistakes without defensiveness. It requires humility to admit what you could have done better and courage to face uncomfortable truths. But this honest assessment is where growth begins. You identify what's within your control to change, what needs a new approach, and what you must simply accept and move past. The mentally strong also understand that recovery from a setback isn't always about pushing harder. It's about adjusting smarter. Sometimes that means taking a short pause to regain clarity before making your next move. Other times it means pivoting entirely, letting go of a path that's no longer serving you. Adaptability is key, because the same strategy that failed you once will fail you again if you don't learn from it. It's also important to manage the emotional impact of setbacks. Disappointment, frustration, even grief are natural responses. Allow yourself to feel them, but don't set up camp there. Use tools like journaling, talking with your support system, or engaging in physical activity to process those emotions so they don't harden into self-doubt. Finally, resilience is built in small steps. After a setback, the next move doesn't have to be massive, it just has to be forward. Even a small win can restore momentum and rebuild confidence. And each time you come back from a setback, you strengthen the belief that you can handle whatever comes next. Over time, you realize that setbacks are not detours from the path. They are the path. They shape your character, sharpen your skills, and teach you lessons that success alone never could. When you stop fearing them, you start using them, and that's when you become truly unstoppable. Because the truth is, the measure of your strength is not how you act when everything is going right. It's how you rise when everything goes wrong. The importance of goal setting. Without goals, life becomes a series of disconnected actions, days that blur together without a clear direction. You may work hard, but without a target, you're like a ship drifting at sea, moving, but not necessarily toward anything meaningful. Goal setting is what gives your efforts purpose. It turns vague desires into concrete destinations and transforms wishful thinking into actionable steps. Mentally strong people don't rely on chance to shape their future. They decide where they're going and build a plan to get there. The first power of goal setting is clarity. When you define what you want, you create a filter for your decisions. Every opportunity, every request, every task can be evaluated by asking, does this bring me closer to my goal, or does it pull me further away? Without that clarity, it's easy to get trapped in busyness, doing a lot, but accomplishing little. Goals keep you from scattering your energy in too many directions and ensure that your time is invested in what truly matters. Strong goals are also specific. Saying, I want to be healthier, is too vague to inspire consistent action. But saying, I will exercise for 30 minutes 5 days a week, gives you something you can measure and track. This is where the principle of SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, becomes valuable. When your goals are clear and measurable, you can track progress, make adjustments, and celebrate milestones along the way. Another critical element is alignment. Goals that are out of sync with your values will drain your energy, even if you achieve them. If your goal is purely based on what others expect of you, it will lack the internal drive needed to sustain it. That's why mentally strong people choose goals that reflect who they want to become, not just what they think will impress others. When your goals are value-driven, the work toward them feels meaningful, even on hard days. Breaking big goals into smaller, manageable steps is also essential. Looking at a major life change, like starting a business, running a marathon, or writing a book, can feel overwhelming. But when you break it down into small, actionable tasks, you create a path that feels achievable. Each small win fuels momentum, and momentum is one of the most powerful forces in goal achievement. It's equally important to stay adaptable. Goals provide direction, but life is unpredictable. Sometimes circumstances shift, and holding on to a goal exactly as you first envisioned it may no longer make sense. The mentally strong know when to adjust the path without abandoning the purpose. Flexibility ensures that setbacks don't destroy your vision. They simply alter the route you take to reach it. Goal setting also serves as a source of motivation during difficult times. On the days when you don't feel like showing up, remembering the reason you started can be enough to push you forward. That's why it's vital to keep your goals visible, written in a journal, pinned to your wall, or set as reminders in your phone. In the end, goal setting is about more than achieving specific outcomes. It's about who you become in the process. The discipline, resilience, and focus you develop while pursuing your goals stay with you long after the goal itself is achieved. And that's the real reward. Not just reaching the finish line, but becoming the kind of person who is capable of reaching it again and again. Sustaining mental strength. Building mental strength is one thing, sustaining it is another. It's easy to feel strong when motivation is high, when life is calm, and when challenges are rare. But real mental strength isn't proven in those moments. It's tested over the long run, in the grind of daily life, in the stretches where progress feels slow, and in the seasons when challenges keep coming without warning. Sustaining mental strength means committing to habits, mindsets, and principles that keep you steady. Not just for weeks or months, but for years. It's a lifelong practice, not a temporary project. The first key to sustaining mental strength is consistency. You can't train your mind once and expect it to remain unshakable forever. Just like physical fitness, mental resilience requires ongoing maintenance. That means regularly practicing the habits that keep you centered, mindfulness to stay present, gratitude to maintain perspective, goal setting to stay focused, and boundaries to protect your energy. These habits act like the pillars of a structure. Remove one, and the whole thing weakens over time. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means showing up for yourself repeatedly, even when you don't feel like it. Adaptability is the second key. Life changes. What worked for you last year might not serve you now. People who sustain mental strength know how to adjust their routines, strategies, and perspectives without losing their core values. They remain flexible in their approach, but firm in their purpose. This adaptability allows you to navigate unexpected changes without losing your footing. Instead of resisting change, you learn to work with it, finding new paths to the same destination. Another crucial element is self-awareness. Over time, it's easy to slip into autopilot, repeating actions that no longer serve you, or ignoring subtle signs of burnout. Sustaining mental strength means regularly checking in with yourself, asking what's working, what's not, and where you need to adjust. Self-awareness prevents stagnation and ensures that your strength continues to evolve alongside your life. Your environment also plays a major role. The people, places, and information you surround yourself with either reinforce your mental strength or slowly erode it. A supportive environment makes it easier to maintain positive habits, while a toxic one can undo progress you've worked hard to build. This is why protecting your inner circle, limiting exposure to negativity, and curating your influences is an ongoing responsibility. Rest and recovery are often overlooked, but essential for sustaining mental strength. Pushing yourself without breaks eventually leads to mental and emotional exhaustion, which makes it harder to think clearly, manage stress, and make good decisions. Incorporating regular downtime, hobbies that recharge you, and moments of stillness ensures you can keep going for the long haul without burning out. Finally, sustaining mental strength requires a strong sense of purpose. Without a reason to keep going, it's easy to drift. Your why fuels discipline, helps you endure hard times, and gives meaning to the daily choices that keep your mind sharp and resilient. When you know what you're working toward and why it matters, You can face challenges without losing your sense of direction. In the end, sustaining mental strength is about creating a lifestyle that supports it every single day. It's the accumulation of small, consistent actions, the willingness to adapt, and the commitment to your values. It's knowing that mental strength isn't something you build once and forget. It's something you live, nurture, and protect for the rest of your life. And the reward for that effort is a mind that can weather any storm, a spirit that stays grounded, and a life lived with clarity and resilience, no matter what comes your way. Strength of mind is not measured by how little life challenges you, but by how steadily you walk through those challenges without losing yourself. Every principle we've explored, from building a strong foundation to sustaining your mental resilience, isn't just theory. It's a set of tools. Tools you can reach for on the days when you want to give up. Tools that remind you that no matter what happens, you still have control over your thoughts, your choices, and your actions. You will face moments when fear is loud, when self-doubt creeps in, and when life's setbacks make you question your own strength. In those moments, remember this: mental strength is not about feeling unbreakable. It's about refusing to stay broken. It's about getting up one more time, choosing one more step, and believing that you are capable even when the evidence isn't obvious yet. The work never truly ends, but that's what makes it powerful. You're not aiming for a single peak to conquer. You're building the capacity to climb again and again. You're shaping yourself into someone who can remain grounded in chaos, patient in uncertainty, and focused in distraction. That's not just mental strength, that's freedom. So take these lessons and put them into action. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. Today. Start with one small choice that aligns with the person you want to become, then another, and another. Over time, you won't just see changes in your circumstances, you'll see changes in yourself. And when you look back, you'll realize that the strength you were searching for was never something you had to find out there. You were building it all along, one decision, one challenge, one step at a time.